Hey guys, and welcome back to Mad About Skin. If you're new to our channel, welcome. Here at Mad About Skin, we're passionate about helping you to get the most out of your skincare. So if you haven't already, now's a fantastic time to click that link below, subscribe to the channel, ring that notification bell, and you won't miss out on any of our amazing future content. Now, in today's video, I'm going to be tackling a topic which you guys have asked me so many questions about, and which I've been kind of nervous or a bit apprehensive to actually talk about, and that is fungal acne. The reason I've been a little bit reticent to actually talk about this is because I've seen some of the comments online and some of the videos online, which I will actually link a whole range of videos because you might want to explore a little bit more about this topic in the description below. But I've seen so many of the comments which are just really aggressive and confrontational. It's quite a contentious subject, but I thought actually you guys have been asking me for my opinions on it and some treatments and skincare routines that are fungal acne safe. And this is something which I have suffered with in my past. I don't currently suffer with, but have in my past. And so I wanted to share with you my experiences, the products that worked for me, and just really, I guess, help you maybe on a little bit on your fungal acne journey. Now, I will just start this video by saying fungal acne is something which really should be diagnosed by a professional, your GP, your doctor, your dermatologist. So I would recommend that you go and get a consultation and a proper diagnosis if you haven't already, particularly because a lot of people think they have fungal acne because it presents very similarly to standard acne, and it's quite, I don't want to say trendy because I think that belittles the severity of it a little bit, but it is one of those topics which is mentioned quite a lot. So a lot of people think their actual acne might be fungal acne. So it's really important to get a proper diagnosis because different products are used to tackle both different things. However, I appreciate not everybody can get to a dermatologist, not everybody can afford it. Here in the UK, you have to go through your GP for a referral, and you know the waiting list can be quite long, so it's not always possible. And so I thought I would jump on here and actually suggest to you the best way, if you're unsure whether you have fungal acne or not, actually the best way to tackle it is to just make sure you have a fungal acne safe skincare routine that's going to deliver you all the fantastic benefits that you want from your routine, such as brightness, anti-aging, hydration, all the things you need in your skincare life, but which are fungal acne safe, so they're not going to be exacerbating the problem. And by removing some of the problematic products from your routine, hopefully you'll see an improvement in the condition of your fungal acne. So let's get into it. What is fungal acne? Well, officially it's not actually acne. It's a condition called malassezia folliculitis, which is excessive quantities of yeast produced on the skin. Malassezia being a traditional yeast that's found naturally on the skin, and we do need it as part of our skin's microbiome. However, it feeds off of the oils which sit within our skin. So if we are particularly oily, or we use a lot of products which contain heavy amounts of oil, this can sort of send the production into overdrive. As a result, it then causes inflammation of the follicles on the skin, which is when they appear as those tiny little red bumps. There's no real way of telling between acne, or no steadfast way of telling between acne and fungal acne. However, some of the telltale signs are where it appears. So fungal acne will tend to appear on the forehead, on the chest, and possibly on the back. Very rare does it appear on the rest of the face, though it can. Whereas acne tends to be prevalent all over and can come in any different space. Also, fungal acne tends, though not always, to have an itch associated with it. So if you find the area quite itching and you're scratching the area quite a bit, that's more likely to be fungal acne than it is to be standard acne. Finally, a way of kind of working out whether something's fungal acne or not is the size of the pimples. If they are small and uniform in size, chances are that will be fungal acne. Standard acne tends to be, well, all different sorts of size. You know, you might get large pimples, you get small pimples, the different stages of the life cycle, some are emerging, some are drying out and disappearing, whereas fungal acne just tends to stay the same size throughout its cycle. So that's another way of maybe identifying whether you might have fungal acne. Like I say, the best way is to get a diagnosis from a professional, but if that isn't possible, hopefully this routine will help you ensure that you get some amazing benefits, but in a fungal acne safe way with some really great products. I am just going to caveat this once more before we get into this video, that everyone's skin is unique. These products worked for me and I would recommend. They're also standard products which have ingredients which are generally assumed to be fungal acne safe, but everyone's skin reacts differently to products, and so I would always say just because something works for one person, it doesn't always work for another. So don't read me to filth in the comments saying I tried this, it didn't work, you liar, like I've seen on some other videos. Let's, you know, accept that some things work for some people and might not for others. And finally, a lot of people reach for the Nizoral dandruff shampoo. You see this all over the net saying actually it's got antifungal properties in there and it's fantastic for tackling your fungal acne. It doesn't appear in this routine, and for one reason mainly personally is that I don't think it's, well, for a start, it's a shampoo. It's meant to be used on the hair and on the scalp. It's not meant to be applied liberally across the face, nor to treat fungal acne. And so I don't think you should ever use a product, or I should recommend a product off label for a use that it's not naturally intended for. And that should be left to a dermatologist. If your dermatologist recommends you use it, go for it, absolutely. But I don't think that I should be recommending products off label, which, let's be honest, aren't meant for that purpose. Now, I do know a lot of people that have had success with the product. You know, share your thoughts and feelings below in the comments if you'd like, but I just don't feel comfortable recommending something off label. I'd leave that to a dermatologist that can see you face to face and make that recommendation. Now, let's start with cleansing, and you need to remember that fungal acne is a proliferation, an excess proliferation of yeasts which feed off the oil that sit within the glands of our skin. So you need to be really mindful of cutting back on the amount of oil that is in your skincare routine. Oils obviously are going to then feed the yeast, which can make the problem worse, or just allow it to continue as it is. So if you cut back on the amount of oils, you should see an improvement in the rate of the fungal acne on your skin. So cleansing balms are out. They're a firm pass. Now, there are some oils which, particularly the shorter chain fatty acids, which are fine, and the longer chain fatty acids tend to be more detrimental and encourage that yeast proliferation. However, no one has time to be thinking in their life, what is a long chain fatty acid, a short chain fatty acid? Who has time for that? So I think it's just better to avoid oils as much as possible, whatever the oil type you're talking about. And so for me, I would reach for a micellar water as your first cleansing step. Micellar water is great anyway for removing dirt, debris and makeup from the skin. You can really saturate a cotton pad. I would actually recommend reusable cotton pads. That's, you know, a little bit of earth friendly. I've recommended, left a link to all of these products, but some really great reusable cotton rounds that I'm using from Cult Beauty. I've left a link to them below. Saturate your cotton round and then wipe it over the skin, and that will remove a lot of the dirt, the debris and the excess oils from the skin anyway, so that's fantastic. And I would recommend the Bioderma micellar water. I think it's the holy grail. It's the best, and actually it doesn't really cost that much. But I did a whole video on micellar waters, which I'll link up there, so check that out if you do want to know a little bit more about choosing the right one for you. As that's your first step in your cleanse, if you want to do a second step cleanse, then I really would recommend, and this people go mad for online as one of the best fungal acne safe cleansers, and that is the Simple Foaming Facial Cleanser. I often find simple to be a little bit, well, simple, which I know is kind of the point, and it's not the most exciting products, but if you're trying to cut back on ingredients which could trigger the fungal acne to become worse, then actually sometimes simple is best. And this is a really great cleanser which will get off all the extra stuff that your micellar water didn't. You don't even need to use micellar water. If you're not wearing heavy makeup, you could just use this simple cleanser, but it'll do it in a fungal acne safe way, which is absolutely fantastic. Now we've cleansed, we've got our skin clean and fresh, but hopefully using those two products you won't feel stripped and dried, because you don't, whilst you want to limit the amount of oil in the skin, you don't want to strip it and dry it down. And then we move on to exfoliators. Now choose an exfoliator which works for you. A lot of people say, should you really exfoliate if you've got fungal acne? Absolutely, because what you need to do is help with some of that irritation, the clogging of the pores, and just really help to turn over those cells. And exfoliation is a really great way of doing that. I would recommend a salicylic acid exfoliator. And the reason for that is salicylic acid binds to the oil and will remove it from the skin. So all the excess oil which the yeast is feeding off will be removed from the skin, and it just helps to level out the amount of oil that your body's producing. So I absolutely love salicylic acid. My go-to is the Paula's Choice Skin Perfecting 2% BHA exfoliant. This is great because not only does it have a great concentration of salicylic acid, which will really help to level out that oil in the skin, but it doesn't dry and strip the skin. It leaves you nicely moisturized afterwards because of some of the added humectants in there. So it's a really good way of making sure you're not too dry, but you're getting rid of that excess oil which is feeding the yeast. If you prefer to go to a glycolic acid, you absolutely can, and I did a whole video on exfoliating acids which I'll link up there if you want to explore some of the other ones. Particularly if you have sensitive skin, you might want to go for a mandelic acid, for example. But I think salicylic acid, for those that can use it, should be the go-to, because it's all about controlling the amount of oil in the skin which is feeding that yeast, and hopefully by doing so you'll reduce the prevalence of the fungal acne on the skin. Now of course Paula's Choice is a little bit on the pricey side, so if you want to go for something a little bit more cost effective, they Inkilist BHA toner is a really, really good option. I think it's fantastic, but it is sometimes hard to get your hands on, but it's a really good, affordable option for a salicylic, which isn't going to cost the earth. So definitely, again, still cruelty-free, fragrance-free, and colorant-free, which is great. So you might want to explore the Inkilist if you want a little bit of a cheaper option to the Paula's choice. Now, a lot of people love a face mist. I'm not a heavy face mist user. I think they're kind of, I don't know, I think they're an optional extra. And when we're trying to cut back and strip down our skincare routine to remove as many triggers as possible, I think sometimes having a, a mist or a spray, I think can be a bit risky. However, if you like that sensation of the damp skin to receive your serums, which we're coming on to next, and maybe just extra hydration, and you like that cooling mist, then actually I'd reach for the La Roche-Posay L'Eau Thermale. It's beautiful, beautifully formulated. It's spring water in a can, which everyone says, isn't that just like water out of a tap? Why are you paying £7 for it? Well, actually, it's thermal spring water, which is packed full of selenium, which is calming, and it's really going to take down some of that inflammation which is associated with both acne and fungal acne. So it's a really nice addition. Total optional extra, but I think it's a really nice addition to have in your skincare routine if you do want a little bit of extra hydration, a nice spritz, something to just refresh you in the morning. Then reach for the L'Eau Thermale by La Roche-Posay. Now, we're moving seamlessly onto our active ingredients. And I hear so many people saying, can I actually afford to have actives in my life if I have or suspect I have fungal acne? And the answer is yes, absolutely. We're talking about making sure you've got the right formulations, not too oily, not too occlusive, but absolutely, actives can actually really help. One that I would definitely recommend you have in your life is a niacinamide serum. Niacinamide is amazing and not only brightening the complexion and evening out the skin tone, but it's also really good at regulating the oil production in the skin. I would reach for the ordinary 10% niacinamide plus 1% zinc, because zinc again is really good at regulating that oil production. I think whilst we can use products that remove oil from the skin, such as our BHA exfoliators and some masks that I'm going to come on to later in the video, I actually think if we can stop the body producing as much oil, excess oil as it is, then surely that's better than removing it. And niacinamide is brilliant at achieving that. So I would definitely recommend you get a niacinamide. Again, texture is key. So I've recommended the ordinary there because it's in a lightweight serum that hasn't got any added oils in there which are going to potentially trigger and make the situation worse. So I really like it. There are other lightweight serums. The Inkilist do a niacinamide serum, which is fantastic. But just search for one if you can't get your hands on either of those that doesn't contain any oils and is just a basic serum, maybe in a hyaluronic acid form. And the added zinc is just an added extra to just really supercharge the oil regulation in the skin. A lot of people as well question whether you can use a retinol when you have fungal acne. I love retinol. One of the few products which can actually reverse the signs of aging, give us that plumpness, gorgeousness back to our skin and that elasticity that we crave. I love retinol and it's fantastic if you've got fungal acne if you choose the right formulation. So I use retinol throughout my fungal acne years as a way of just increasing that cellular turnover, which it can also be quite therapeutic, so to support with that inflammation, but mainly it's to increase that cellular turnover, which is going to get all that clogged, dead debris that's sitting in our skin's follicles removed and hopefully just help the skin to fight off the fungal acne that little bit better. It's also got great anti-aging properties and I love it as an ingredient. Again, really important that you go for one which is in a gel format. So have a look online for one that's within your price range, a retinol which is gel formatted, because again, you don't want a thick, heavy cream that's going to add an occlusive layer to the skin. I would fully recommend the Versed retinol, which I love. It is super gentle, so you're not going to get a powerhouse packed full of retinol product, but actually it delivers really nice results over time. It's not going to be too triggering for the fungal acne, and I think it's just a really nice product to use. So that's the one I'd recommend, but there are loads out there. So if you don't want to go for the Versed, just look for a retinol, mid-strength retinol, which is in a gel format, and that way you won't be getting too much of the oils and the heavy creams, which are going to make the fungal acne worse potentially. Now, finally we're coming on to moisturisers. This, I think, is the step that everyone with fungal acne gets wrong, or suspected fungal acne can get wrong. The key thing is the yeast will proliferate where there's the excess oils in the skin, but also where it's warm and it's the perfect environment. We stick a super occlusive moisturiser on our skin, and what it does is create almost a greenhouse effect. So it sits on the skin and it traps some of the air and the heat between the skin and that layer of moisturiser. So the skin can't regulate its own temperature and release that heat into the atmosphere. That heat sits there and it warms up the surface of our skin. It can create redness and flushing and irritation, but more importantly, it can actually help that yeast to proliferate and create the problem, make the problem even worse. So you want a lightweight, non-occlusive moisturizer that's not going to do that, but is going to still hydrate the skin. So I would recommend, and this is a gorgeous product, wasn't around when I was suffering with fungal acne, which, you know, if it was, I'd have reached for it. That is the Face Theory MLC Whip Moisturizer. This actually has niacinamide and vitamin C in. So if you were talking, we just talked about vitamin C and niacinamide, you can actually cut the amount of niacinamide in your serums. Don't need it in your serum because you've got it in your moisturizer. So this is kind of like a 3-in-1 product. You've got your niacinamide, you've got your vitamin C, and you've got your moisturizer. So it kind of covers your actives and your moisturization in one, which is fantastic because cutting down the number of products in a routine is great if you have fungal acne because it's less things to trigger it. I love this product. It's super lightweight, it sinks into the skin, it's barely noticeable, but it still gives a really nice level of hydration. So fully recommend you check that one out if you do want a moisturizer, which isn't going to make the problem worse, will hydrate, and also has packed full of actives. Now, finally, because I want to keep this short because, you know, often people spend hours searching for fungal safe products, so having a short, sharp video hopefully will be beneficial for you. But I did just want to mention a couple like honourable mentions of the extra things you can do and which worked for me. First of all, honey. Honey is a gorgeous antifungal. So if you're worried about like the Nizoral shampoo, I'm not going to recommend Nizoral shampoo because it's off-label, but having an antifungal, a natural antifungal like honey, can be really good. It's also super hydrating. And I've actually done it where honey masking, where once a week you literally just put it on the skin, a layer of honey. If you can get good quality honey, obviously more's the better. Put it on the skin and leave it to sit for like 10 minutes. Wash it off. Now you do have to use warmish water to wash that off, but that will just help hydrate, moisturize the skin, but more importantly, it has antifungal properties which will really help, especially in the areas where you have that fungal acne. You can just use it on the areas you have the fungal acne, it's up to you, but I think it's great as an all-round face mask. Also, sulfur has been clinically proven to support with the removal and the treatment of fungal acne. It's also great for removing the oils from the skin. So again, taking away the food source from the yeast, which is going to help with the situation. I love sulfur masks. It's great for acne, but it's also great for fungal acne. They can be really hard to get here in the UK. In the US, you have so many to choose from. You are lucky, but here in the UK, it can be quite difficult to get your hands on a good sulfur mask. So the one I always reach for is the Out of Trouble mask by Origins. Origins are a really good company anyway, but this is a sulfur mask with a really good concentration of sulfur. It stinks, but do you know what? That proves it's got a good concentration of sulfur, because if it doesn't smell eggy, it's not sulfury enough. You put it on the skin. You can use it just on the areas where you have the fungal acne or all over the skin, just to try and detoxify the skin a little bit as well. It's a gorgeous product and it will just help. All masks that contain bentonite, clay or kaolin will absorb some of that excess oil, so they'll be really beneficial as well, because again, if you take away the oil, there's less for the yeast to feed on, so it should over time improve the fungal acne. There you are, guys. I'd love for you to stay positive in the comments. I want you to leave what's worked for you. If you've suffered from fungal acne, share your experiences and let me know in the comments below how it's impacted you and what products you found have really worked. Not all these products will work for everybody. I appreciate that, and you know, do your own research by all means online and speak to a professional if you can afford to and it's accessible to you. But hopefully this will just give you a really good, and actually forget the fungal acne, this is a really good skincare routine just to follow in general, because you've got some really great products in there. But it's fungal acne safe, and therefore if you're concerned you might have fungal acne, using these products will just make sure you're not exacerbating the problem, and hopefully you'll see an improvement over time. Guys, wherever in the world you are, stay safe, stay well, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye.